Hey Covenant students, welcome to City Groups. Hope you've had the best day and you're looking forward to digging into this topic on living out loud for God. Now at Big Night last week, we talked about the fact that we need to first be alive and that life comes from only one place, and that's Jesus Christ. Now when Jesus becomes Lord of our life, that's really when we start living. We also talked about making sure that our lives are saying the right things, right? Our lives are telling a story, and whether that story is good or bad really depends on where we stand in our relationship with God. So tonight, let's talk about what it really means to live for Jesus. What does it look like to live out loud? Now, I think sometimes when people think of someone who's living out loud, they might think of somebody who's really vocal. You know, they always have something to say, and odds are they're going to say it, right? But what does that look like in terms of a Christian? Well, what usually comes to mind if you're going to be a Christian who lives out loud is that you have to either be that guy that, stands on the street corner yelling at people that they're going to hell, or on the other side of that, you have to be this dorky Christian kid whose parents won't let them do anything, and all they ever do is listen 24/7 to the old King James Version podcast. And if you're going to live out loud as a Christian, then everyone knows it, and it really means no friends, no being cool, no fun. But you know what? Literally none of that is the truth. Living out loud for Jesus does not mean that you become a weirdo, but it does mean that we do some things differently. And it's not because Christians are weird, it's because we're not of this world, right? Towards the end of Jesus' ministry on earth, he prayed this prayer in John chapter 17, verse 16. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I mean, yes, we are all from planet Earth, no doubt. But as Christian, we are different from the world in that the things of God are what bring us joy and satisfaction, not the things of the world. It means that things like money and popularity don't have control over our lives like people who are in the world. It means that our focus is Jesus and his kingdom and fulfilling our role in that kingdom. But what this really looks like in our lives is really in how we interact with people. Sometimes people, they become Christians and they think that they have the right to condemn those who aren't. They become a Christian and they think that it gives them some high horse position where all of a sudden they can be judge and jury with people, dictating morality from some ideological throne. Well, not at all. In fact, our interactions with people as Christians should be exponentially more loving, seasoned with grace and mercy as we're trying to lead them and win them to the Lord. So I want to help you understand practically what living out loud for Jesus looks like. As you interact with people, it's important to keep these three things in mind, because when you live out these three things, you really live out loud in such a way that brings glory to God. So the first one is this: love God. Love God. The very first of the Ten Commandments tells us that we are to love God with all of our heart. So when you love God, it makes it easier to do the things that he's asked you to do. I mean, if you look at the Bible as just a big bunch of rules, it's super hard to do. But when you look at the Bible as a set of instructions from a loving Father, it's easy to see that he doesn't want to keep us down, but rather he wants us to succeed. When you love God, it shows in your actions and your words and every aspect of your life. You want to get better. You want to be better. You want to reflect him, and you want people to look at your life and to see Jesus in it. I know that whenever I was young and in school, I really wanted to do well in my school and extracurricular activities, and partially because I just wanted to be good at them, but a huge part of that was because I wanted my parents to be proud of me. I wanted to do well because I knew it would make them happy if I did well. I think the same goes for us with God. I want to do everything I do with excellence because I know that when I work hard and I give my best, it makes my Father in heaven proud. And I want him to be happy with the way I'm living my life, because when I'm living my life well, it's evidence that I really love him. So if we want to live out loud, it starts with loving God. The second one is love people, right? Jesus tells us in John 13:35 that people will know you're really following him by how we love each other. And the truth is, you'll never be more like Jesus than when you're loving on people. It's nuts. We live in this crazy world that's consumed by things, money and fame and cars and influence and houses and relationships. And just this list never ends. And these people are desperate for things because they think those things are going to make them happy. But things by their very nature can't do that. I remember when I got my first iPhone. I was so excited. I wouldn't let my kids touch it. I was super gentle with it. And I'm sure you've gotten a phone before or some other doodad, and for like the first month you handled it like you would one of the Dead Sea Scrolls, It's funny though, after a while, it wasn't a big deal for my kids to play with my phone. I noticed I wasn't nearly as careful or protective with it as I was when I first got it. And it's because the newness of the thing wore off, right? Things don't have the ability to satisfy us because all they do is speak to our emotional side. That's why they satisfy you for a little bit, But once the newness wears off, you're looking for a new doodad, a new thing. What's really sad is that people experience the same thing in terms of love. That's what love looks like in the world. It's something that satisfies for a while, but it wears off when the newness wears off. And can I tell you something though? That's not real love. And I think people in the world are desperate to experience real love. And you know what? We have it in Jesus. So if you really want to live out loud for Jesus, there's no better way than to love people in the midst of the world that only loves things. Show someone love, real love, and that alone has the power to introduce them to Jesus. And lastly, we love life. Now, you may have seen where I was going with these 3 points, but let me just tell you, if you don't love life, why in the world would anyone else want to live like you're living? The truth is, once you give your life to Jesus, that's really when life begins. And I don't mean just in terms of your spirit. You're never going to find joy like you have in Jesus. You're never going to find satisfaction like you have in Jesus. And you don't have to go live like a crazy person to understand that either. Just ask somebody who's been through hell and back again. Ask them if they had it all over to do again, what they would have done. I've never met a person who said, you know what, sign me up for my bad decisions again. That was really, really fun. No, I know that when you look into the world and see how people are living, I know it can be easy to think, wow, they're really having fun. You know, they're partying it up and they're doing whatever they want. They have all the money in the world or all the followers on social media. But you know what? None of that satisfies. None of that matters in the end. And don't forget that Hebrews 11 tells us that sin might be enjoyable, but it's only for a season. And what that means is that at some point, all of that fun is really going to turn into pain. It's not so when you live for Jesus. When you live for Him, you're going to find that you love life more than you ever thought possible. Jesus even told us in John 10:10 that He came to give us life and life more abundantly. Like there's this crazy old mentality that says you can't enjoy your Christian life, that you have to be like somber and pensive and all that. It's crazy. Jesus wants us to love the life that we live, but He wants us to love the life that He gives us. And it's not because He's selfish or jealous, but because He knows that when we live the life that He's given to us, it's our best life. So we love God, we love people, we love life. And if you really want to live out loud, if you really want the story of your life to be a good one, a godly one, do these things every day. You're going to find that nothing is better than loving God. You're going to find that loving people isn't nearly as difficult after all. And you're going to find that life is really good. So good. Okay, so have a great discussion in your small groups. If you need anything, be sure to ask a leader or text 903-309-2825. And remember, we are better together. So if you're going through anything in the world, don't be afraid to talk to somebody about it. We love you and we want God's best for you. And that means no condemnation, no shade, just love. Love you so much, guys. Be blessed.